This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show. This is an intro. Who needs an intro? I don't need an intro. This is just a vape show. It's just a vape show. Vape show.
What's up, YouTube? I'm your homeboy Josh, back at you with another video. I was just running some errands, grabbing some medications for the pets. I don't even want to get into it. They're on all kinds of crap. I mean, it's a lot. They're all on different medicines. When it rains, it pours. You know what I mean? Anyway, I put an order into eBay a few days ago for this guy. Here it is. I'm excited. I found this guy on Fastech. I'd never heard of it. They have them on Fastech for, they have one for $8.25 and they have one for $11.20. I don't remember which one I saw, probably $11 one. So I went in the Bay and I went to see what they were going for there. I was able to find one on the Bay for $12.79. Free shipping from these guys, who are they? From these guys, Quality Direct USA. I've never heard of them. They seem to be pretty new. They only have 141 feedback ratings, but they've got 100% positive feedback, so I figured, hell, why not? And it was $12.80. And that versus $11.20, Fastech versus the Bay out of California. I'm gonna go with the Bay out of California. I don't want to wait, 3 months to get my RDA. Well, I mean, that's a little bit silly. More like a month to get my order from Fastech when I'm just gonna check the Bay and they've got it for an extra buck. I'll take the dollar hit and I'll go buy it on the Bay. And I pulled up some reviews on it on the YouTube, and I was like, wow, this RDA looks awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Here it is. The mail lady, for some reason, I don't know what happened to this thing in the mail. I really have no idea, because I placed this order, and it's not Quality Direct USA's fault. It's the mail lady's fault. The Vape Fairy let me down, guys. The Vape Fairy didn't come through for me this time. I ordered this guy on, when did I order it? I want to say it was Monday last week. Yeah, maybe it was like Monday or Tuesday last week. And projected delivery date was Friday. And I was like, okay, cool, Friday. I'm down with that. That's awesome. I can get behind Friday. That's sweet. I'll have all weekend to play with it. I can't wait. And then it didn't make it out of Anaheim until the next day. So it was running a day behind. I figured, okay, I'll get it on Saturday. It's not the end of the world. I'll get my vape mail on Saturday. It's okay. I'm still like kind of, I wanted it Friday. Still a little bit upset about that at that point. And then Saturday rolls around, and I don't know what it is with my mail lady. I don't know what it is with her. I guess she takes a day off sometimes, and she has someone else there do her route. I don't know, but whenever this other person, this other Vape Fairy takes over for my usual Vape Fairy, my mail either doesn't come or it gets lost. One or the other. I lost a Zample box once. They just lost it. They were cool enough to send me another one. I mean, it's ridiculous. One of these days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tracking the days that I don't get my mail or that it gets lost. I'm going to start keeping track of those, and I'm going to get like 10 of them together, and then I'm just going to go file a complaint with the post office. Anyway, it's here, finally. It didn't get here Saturday. It's Monday, and it's here, and it's finally here. I'm excited. Let's dive in. Ooh, comes in a little box. Kind of a shitty box. It's a clone, but it comes in kind of a shitty box. Anyone got any guesses? Anybody? Anybody? The usual fare, nuts and bolts. little plastic wrapper. It's a clone. As long as it vapes well, I don't really give a shit. And there it is, the Cascata RDA from Cartel Mods. The original goes for about $100. I paid $12.80 for this. So we'll see. These are the same guys behind the Stillare and the Cartel Mod. Yeah, it's two mech mod. I've never vaped a Stillare. I've never been a mech mod kind of guy either. But this RDA really excited me when I first saw it, and I'm super stoked to give it a try. So I gave it a good rinse, got rid of all the machine oil. We're gonna dive on in. Come on in here. We're gonna dive on in and take a look. All right, so we're taking a close-up look at the Cascata RDA from Cartel Mods. Same guys behind the Stillare and the Cartel Mod. We got the, here's top cap, matching drip tip, and it's in a stainless steel finish. On Fast Tech, you can find it in a bunch of different finishes. And a lot of times the drip tip it comes with is gonna be in a brass. Machining is not the best. You can definitely see, you know, where the CNC machine definitely just scraped the hell out of that chamber. But you do see the reduced chamber here, and you see this little hole here, and over here around the hole it says Cartel Mods. No, I'm lying, it says Cartel Cascata. Around the hole there it says Cartel Cascata. And what that hole is, supposedly, that is a fill hole, a functioning fill hole. I don't know if I would ever use it that way. We'll give it a shot, but it's also an additional airflow intake. And what I thought was kind of a weird choice by Cartel Mods is the drip tip that comes with it covers up that hole. So if you want to use that hole, whether it be a fill hole or as an additional air intake, you've got to take it completely off. It just completely covers that hole. So I thought that's one weird thing about this RDA that I don't really get yet. We'll look into that a little bit further. I just don't get, if it's supposed to be a fill hole, why cover it with the drip tip so that you can't access it without taking the drip tip off? Why then would this be a fill hole? Because you can just fill through there. I don't get that. And if it's supposed to be an air intake hole, fine. You know, you can use a different drip tip and use it as an air intake. But if that's what it's for, why cover it with your drip tip so that I have to use a different drip tip if I want to use that air intake hole? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You'd have to use something like this. Or maybe this. I guess that'll work. Here's the problem. And it's probably just a problem because it's a clone. The resistances on the drip tips, I don't have that problem with any other RDAs fitting these drip tips. So this clone, I don't know who makes it, but I think their drip tip might be a little bit wider or something. It's a clone. I'll find a drip tip that'll work with it if I want to. The way this deck is designed, this is what attracts me to this RDA, this deck. The way that it is designed, it's designed for dual vertical coils, and I love a dual vertical coil RDA. So this is going to be your positive post. This is going to be your positive post. These are going to be your two negative posts. And what's going to happen is we're going to build a dual vertical coil here. You can also do a single horizontal coil. That's what it's really made for, either a single horizontal coil or a dual vertical coil. And then, yeah, it's bad machining here. If you can see, it's not very well machined. But juice, this is supposed to be tilted. This is tilted a bit. So that juice is going to run off from here over to the choke point, as they call it here, and it's going to saturate our wicks really, really well. So I'm pretty excited to throw a build on here and give her a vape. So by the looks of this deck, it's not going to be the easiest build out there. And the reason is, not just because we're trying to fit dual coils in this narrow space here, it's the placement of the screws. If you look, I'll just go ahead and take one out. If you look, your canthal needs to go up here. And that's where it's going to secure the canthal on top of this thing. So that's got some height to it. And the airflow hole, it's a pretty narrow airflow hole. So that's basically that. That's where that airflow hole is going to be. So it's going to be lower than this. So with the placement I want to get, what we're probably going to have to do is sort of a vertical coil build, but centered. We've got our canthal ready to go. We've got a couple screwdrivers I pulled out. They're both about the same size. They're definitely going to accommodate some nano coils. And we're going to use some 26 gauge canthal because there's not a whole lot of space there. All right, so the first coil is just a standard wrap, the way you do it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wraps. We'll do 8, okay? Now, we're gonna want our leads facing opposite ways. So one this way, one this way. The bottom lead, it's a really tight fit in there, okay? So with the bottom lead, we just wanna make it as close to the coil as we possibly can. And we're gonna bend down toward the coil. So just like if you have a sharp pair of tweezers, just like the very tip of them. Just hold it with the very tip of those sharp tweezers. As close as you can possibly get and bend. Just like that. On the bottom side, we're just going to go ahead and grip the canthal here like so. We're going to bend it back over this way. So that's the bottom of our bottom lead. That's been bent up like that. Okay, that one's ready to go in there. We just need to go ahead and do this one. So give it a little bend like this, away from the coil this time. And like this, bend it in the opposite direction of the other coil. So what we're working with looks something like this. So there's our first coil. And we're just wrapping it around the bottom screw, just for a little extra leverage. And don't worry about the top one just yet, we'll get to that. Set that aside for now, so that works. The way I like to do my vertical coils is to wrap the other one the opposite way. And this is where I usually have the most trouble. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wraps. Facing in opposite directions. That's the easiest one I've ever done. I don't know if it's the 26 gauge canthal or if that we're doing a micro or nano coil. One or the other. Anyway, so we need to go ahead and bend this one into shape. Okay, so let's see here. So this one, is my good screwdriver? Yeah, my good. All right, so this one, we're gonna bend into the coil like that. And then away from the coil. Let me just bend a little more. All right, then away from the coil. Great. And then this one, we're going to bend away from the coil. Like this. So it's going to look something like that. Okay, all right. And just like before, we are wrapping this canthal around the screw for extra leverage. Yeah, these are going to work really well. Let's make sure that they're going to fit right. If this works, it's going to work well. We'll give it a try. All right, so now we're going to wrap the top, okay? So we're going to do one lead around. Give it a little extra leverage. And we're going to do the other lead around. Same thing, a little extra leverage. All right. So it's definitely not lighting up right yet. we're gonna straighten it out. This is not easy, guys. This is sort of a rough RDA to build on. It's getting there, but it's a hard one, I gotta say. This might be more difficult than the Veritas. Yeah, it might just be. This might just be harder to build on than the Veritas, but we're getting there. There we go. Holy crap, I did it. That was not easy. It definitely took a lot of tinkering in there to get that to do what I wanted it to do. I don't know if it's as clean as a more experienced builder could make it, but that's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. Those coils are going to be right up on that airflow, which was my goal because I wanted the coils right on the airflow. I don't know if it's a build or an addy that I would recommend to the newbie vapor. Not at all. Someone who's just getting their feet wet with building, that was not easy for me at all. I've probably been building about a year, maybe a year. Yeah, pretty close to a year. It's probably going to be like June or July when I really started building. And I guess I was never great at it, but that was a very difficult build for me. I don't know if that's necessarily the way that most people would build this with a centered vertical coil, but that's the way I wanted it. Alright, so we'll see how she vapes. I will probably put I'll experiment with some builds a little more later. But this is just, you know, me messing around. I am going to play with this RDA a bit, and we'll decide how we feel about it. And I'll get back to you. I don't know. I had a lot of high hopes about this RDA, and I need to mess with it for a while because this was harder to build than the Veritas. And I got to take a look at some of the videos of the Authentics and see how they compare looks-wise. If it looks like it's going to be that difficult to build. It shouldn't be, because the thing is that if you build it with a dual coil, with a dual vertical coil, it doesn't look like it's going to be centered on that airflow. And I think that would bug me if it wasn't centered on the airflow. And I don't think you'd get as good of a vape if it wasn't. Because at least with this one, I don't know if with this clone, I don't know if it's true with the Authentics, but the way this screw is, the way that the canthal has to sit above the deck a bit, I think that that's going to create a problem for, you know, centering these coils in such a way. I mean, you saw how hard I had to work. Now, theoretically, the reason they call it the Cascata is because it translates to waterfall in Italian, or cascade in Italian. And you can put some juice here and it will flow over to the choke point here. It'll saturate your cotton as you're tilting like this, I guess. Okay? So we're going to see how that works in practice. And I'm going to position it so... See, I don't know if it's like this in the... with the Authentic, okay? But with the clone, anyway, this extra airflow hole / fill hole is placed opposite the regular airflow hole. I imagine that it should work, would work, could work better if the additional airflow was placed right on top of here. And I don't know if it's like that on the original, on the authentic. I will have to double check that. Let's back up. Let's give her a I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. Maybe I'll tear out the cotton later and show you a little bit better, but you can see the coils through the airflow slot, which is what I was going for. I wanted like a I wanted a lot of air on those coils, and that was my goal. The dross feels like it's going to be nice, a little tight, and in a good way, Let's give it a vape. Try it out. Whoa, it's a lot of flavor. A lot of flavor. A decent amount of vapor too. Let's try it with this drip tip. Let's try it with this drip tip. My just the tip drip tip. It's a press fit. So we'll try it with that. See if that will. Not yet, but when it heats up, sometimes that helps. And it's exposing about half the airflow up top. Not a huge difference, but again, I think it would be better if that additional air intake was placed on this side. It just makes more sense to me. That way it'd be right over the coil. Anyway, let's put the regular drip tip back on. Definitely tighter, still really good flavor. I'm not a huge fan of metal drip tips, but this one's not getting too hot. It's a, whoa, I was vaping at 5 volts. It's a 0.4 ohm coil. But the wicking's keeping up, that's for sure. Let's take it down to 40 watts, because that's about 4.28 volts. It's a 0.41 ohm coil. So just over 0.4 ohms. It's good vape. I like it. Yeah. Let me go ahead and yank out this cotton. Yeah, see, it definitely ate up all the cotton that was dripped in the well there, which is nice. A lot of times with a well like this, you end up with just burnt juice that never got to the cotton, and it's kind of a disappointment with a big well sometimes. Sometimes a big well, you know, can kind of backfire on you. Can't see them yet, but let's light them up. Yeah, you can see them in there, right? Not bad. That was the goal. I wanted those coils right up on the airflow. I don't know if that build will work for everybody. It was kind of a bitch to get it in there right. It's not the easiest build. It wasn't easy for me, but I made it work. I made it happen. So that's kind of like a first look / build at the Cascata. I'm going to use it for a few days. I'll get back to you, let you know how I really feel about it. I'll try a couple more builds on it, see what works, review, what doesn't. What's up, YouTube? We're back. Still not a full review. Just want to update you really quick. Other drip tips do in fact fit. I was able to fit about 5 or 6 of them out of my collection, just randos. And this happens to be one of my favorite ones, and it does fit. Drip Tip Designs makes some awesome drip tips, and I love this one in particular. This was actually Waffle's drip tip originally, but I've abducted it from her. But it fits, like a glove. Also, put in a quick new build. This one, I kind of did the exact same thing, except I only centered the bottom half with all the bending of the canthal and all that. I did not do anything for the top half. And also, that bend in the bottom that kind of went like that, I put it behind the post instead of in front of the post, and that seems to work a little bit better. I'll give you a little up-close look at it right now. All right, so there it is with all the cotton in there. Another key thing to point out is not to put too much cotton up top. If you do, if you put a bunch of cotton that goes over this screw right here, you're gonna end up getting a lot of spit back, so don't do that. You just wanna cut it really short, just a buzz cut on that cotton. I'm gonna go ahead and tear the cotton out really quick, and I'm gonna show you a little bit more detail on the build. So sort of that same dual coil, vertical coil concept, pushed all the way up front, as far up as it can possibly go. Not a whole lot of space there between the edge of the deck and those two coils. But you see now we don't have that U sort of thing sticking out up front. If I flip it around in the back, maybe you guys can see a little bit what's going on with that canthal. You're going to see where they're sort of wrapping around those posts a bit, and how they're bent up over the coil. And it's basically bent up about as high as it can go over the coil. And that's what's pushing it down into the well a bit by doing that. Without doing that, see these screws, they're placed above the deck, quite a bit above the deck. And that airflow hole comes in underneath the coils, which I'm not as big of a fan of. I really wanted it to be right on top of the coil. So you can see how that comes out a little bit better by placing that U underneath the, around the back of the post, instead of doing it in front of the posts. They come out a little better. Also, this is 24 gauge canthal. Before we were building with 26, so I was able to manage to fit some 24 gauge coils inside the deck, and that worked very, very well. Yeah, you see, lighten up really nice, really, really nice. Really happy with this build right now. And a little bit in the back, because that does work really well. It does work really well with the juice, the waterfall effect going to that choke point. That works great. Really happy with it. So far so good. Now that I've got some drip tips that I know are going to work with it, and you see it does expose that airflow hole. I still haven't decided yet if I think that that airflow hole makes that much of a difference. And I definitely still wonder if it wouldn't be better placed up front. But so far, so good with the Cascata RDA. Anyway, back on up. Yeah, as you can see, the new build is working really well. It's a 0.23 ohm build. It's 60 watts. It's still less than 0.25 ohm build. So that new build, 0.25 ohm build, it's vaping at 4.10 volts, 60 watts, and it's doing really, really nice. I'm really, really happy with it. Way, way happier than I was with that initial build. So same sort of build that I did on the video. Didn't bother bending the top half of the canthal on that coil, just the bottom half, and works a treat when you place that bend behind the post instead of in front of the post. So if you try that build, remember that trick. Hey guys, till next time, I'm your homeboy Josh. Vape on, vapors.